So, welcome back everyone. I'm super excited to have you here. As always, we have with me our host and CEO, Toli. Toli, it's amazing to have you. We are going to make an amazing conversation happen today. We have a lot of topics to talk about, and we can jump right into the first one. Meta has been on everyone's mind lately. Mark Zuckerberg did a 180, but it still seems that he's having some publicity issues because from time to time, Instagram or Facebook or both, Meta in general, comes up with something that people are kind of scared by. And I think this latest thing that happened really proves that point, which is Instagram starting showing AI images of users to themselves. Have you heard this?
Yeah, I understand why they're doing it. I think there's a lot of popular apps out there that like face apps that can take your face and put it somewhere else, change your hairstyle, change your glasses, or things like that. So I'm sure that the Meta team saw this trend and thought, hey, people are using it for Instagram. Why don't we just, or Facebook or whatever they prefer, why don't we just embed it into the product itself, and let people have fun with it. I think, but showing images of people of themselves like doing something in an ad may feel Matrix-like, may feel like you're in a almost like a reenactment of real life, or like some kind of metaverse, no pun intended with Meta. But to me personally, probably a little creepy if I saw images of myself in a maze. Things that would probably give me some nightmares, but I understand why they did it if a user would like to do it, like within their experience of the app. But but some kind of metaverse where people are seeing images of themselves, like in another universe, I don't think is the right path, and I'm not sure that people will appreciate it. And for me personally, produces kind of creepy outcome if I'm starting seeing myself in weird situations.
I see it the same way, as it being kind of this Matrix-like. I think it's the best comparison we can say, like you said, because we know that especially Mark Zuckerberg did a big push for the company to invest into the metaverse. And can this be some kind of like big brain or something that we're not seeing to encourage people to go in that direction and start using more of the Meta products? Because the Oculus acquisition, I believe that Meta did, if I'm not mistaken, was a big push in that direction, and they've had the whole entry into that kind of universe and world. And I don't think that people are quite ready yet, but maybe it's a push in that direction.
Yeah, I think it's twofold. I think one, it's exactly what you said, Johnny. It's the push into the metaverse and to like see yourself having experiences that didn't happen in reality. But you still have an Instagram photo of it, that you get to share and be like, hey, look at this cool thing that could have happened. The other part is, according to how they've been using it, is companies are actually taking pictures of users and creating personalized, like one-to-one ads. So if it's like a clothing company, like picture yourself in this clothes, or a glasses company, like picture yourself in these brand new glasses. I know Meta even has their own Ray-Bans now too. So I think there we're probably maybe going a little bit extreme, or maybe I'm not thinking progressively enough on some of these features, and that's on me. But personally, I don't know if I'd want to see myself in ads, of someone else's things that I've never actually done. I'm sure there's some funny moments that'll come out of this, but I'm also sure there'll be some blowback, just like there were with the AI influencers push that Meta did as well.
And there's those two movements always, and in certain niches there seems to be agreements on everyone is pushing back, like AI robbing creatives and artists. That seems to be a big pushback. But on the other side, there's areas where no one is pushing back and they're all for it. And I think this next topic is one of those cases, which is AI being used to spot diseases that doctors can't. Again, we feel like everyone is always hating on AI, but this seems to be a topic where people quite getting behind it. Have you heard this?
Yeah, one, I think it's amazing. I think this is an incredible use case. I think across all of medicine and pharmaceuticals and and doctors to be using AI to help patients and help the quality of life and help healthcare as a whole, I think is an incredible outcome for what's happening in artificial intelligence as a whole. Let's take it from a human perspective. Like the hours the doctors work are like almost inhumane. They often have 24-hour shifts. They're often working all night shifts at a hospital, and a lot of times they're exhausted, like physically exhausted. So if you catch a doctor at the end of his shift and now he's going through a scan, there's a maybe a higher likelihood he misses something, as opposed to when you're catching him fresh off a cup of coffee in the morning and he's ready, bushy tailed, and he's like ready to go, versus at the end he might not be as, he might not spot everything. And that's where AI came in for this example, where AI was used, vision AI, let me be very specific, was used to look at CT scan and detect things that the doctor might not have detected, whether it was a tumor or or a tissue, an organ, or something that the doctor wasn't even looking for. And the AI is like, hey, take a look at this, or take a look at this mark, or take a look at this area. And I think it's frankly an incredible outcome, and it also highlights what AI vision is capable of too. And we're seeing this at even our company, AI or Not, where the AI vision tools that we're using have progressed so rapidly, including our own, to detect anomalies in images. And what AI is doing in the medicine field is not is very similar to that, and detecting anomalies and scans and other other parts of medicine. I think it's an incredible outcome, and just augments what the medical practitioners are doing already.
And I'd like to get your thoughts on this, since you are inside the industry. There's these areas where people are like 100%, we want to get healthier. If AI can help, that's great. But there's other areas where people are saying, no, we don't want AI. So it doesn't seem like AI is the problem. It seems like it's the areas where AI is inserted. What are the areas where you think AI will flourish the most, from like people getting behind it? And what areas do you think people will not enjoy it as much?
Yeah, in regards to healthcare, I think it's a tremendous tremendous opportunity. So I'll give you some personal examples. Recently, a doctor diagnosed me with Achilles tendonitis. So my Achilles has been killing me. Like, I can't run, I can't play basketball. Like, even going up and down the stairs was hurt. So if I won't mention any search companies, but if I search it online, I'll get a bunch of articles. Like, here's an article, what this means, what is that. I was like, I just need the points of like, what do I do to help it, right? I don't want to browse a bunch of articles. And there, I think AI comes in and kind of digests all that information and is able to just put together, like, here's like what you should be doing. It's like ice, rest, low impact exercise, as opposed to high impact exercises, which is exactly what I was doing. So I was doing everything wrong, and I didn't have to browse through 3 pages of search results trying to come up with this, and like long articles, like, here's what it is. I'm like, I already got that, I just need to know what it does. And you can see a lot of different examples of this, even from us as consumers, like across health and diet and things like that, as opposed to trying to ingest a bunch of different content that may or may not be good. I think AI is really good at ingesting all of it and producing really personalized results. Like, just like what Meta and Instagram are doing, trying to give you personalized ads, AI can be very personalized in terms of the advice it gives you for the exact thing or problem or something you're trying to solve for. I think in healthcare, it's a really good example that I just went through personally, instead of having to research like what this is and all the background. And I don't feel like reading medical papers on it, quite frankly. I just want to know what I should be doing different based on that diagnosis. And it was actually really helpful, and has helped me, personally. And I've already seen that work, and I even gave it my blood work as an example too. And I'm like, tell me what you think. And I think all of these cases, I think once people become a little bit more comfortable with it, I think at the end will really help. And one area I've been thinking about a lot lately, I have kids. How can AI be almost like a one-to-one, tutor or one-to-one educator? Like, because in some subjects, like everyone, like some subjects you excel in, some subjects you do not. And like some areas that, my kids probably want to go a little bit faster in school. Like maybe there's things I can do to have AI like give them things like that's personalized and stretches them just enough. While some things maybe they need to play a little catch up, and there it can be used as a personalized tool depending on where they are. So I think there's a lot of areas, but on the healthcare topic, I think the opportunity for one-to-one, unofficial, of course, medical healthcare advice, I think is a tremendous opportunity, and one I've already, I was like, let me just try it, and I've experienced it personally with, so far, knock on wood, pretty good results.
Yeah, amazing. Those are great. So healthcare education seems people are all for it. They want to learn. They want to make sure they're healthy. Now, on the other side, what areas do you think that people don't like AI being in?
I think that if AI is being used, it should be in a transparent way. So I think in certain especially when you think about things that go into your body, like food, I think is a terrible use of AI. So an example would be like a Yelp, restaurant on Yelp, and whether it's a restaurant themselves or people putting up AI-generated images of food that may look way better than it is, or way worse if it's a competitor, like a restaurant across the street. Neither of those scenarios are, I think, okay. I think that I think in the transparency world, I also think that it should be clear when things are used, like from your data. Like for example, I recently saw that by default, a lot of the content in like Microsoft Suite is now used to train their own AI. So like, I put in all like my investor updates, a lot of like company materials, like I'd probably turn off train for AI on this one. And to include things like that by default in AI training, I don't think is right either. And a quick sidebar, but AI or not, we actually never train on customer data. We delete it immediately after any check is completed. And I think in the world of AI, transparency and strong ethics around that, I think are going to be super important. So that's a couple of areas that I think where both it stands to help people, but in other areas I think it's it's not ideal use case for it.
One thing, especially artists that get left basically in the dust, is with copyright, right? Because people are using AI and tools like ChatGPT, Grok, all those other LLMs and image generators, etc. They have access to a large pool of data, most of it that should be or is copyrighted, and still those AIs are able to train on those. What are your thoughts on that? I've heard some things that they're using it as kind of like research, so they were able to have access to those materials, but at the same time, those are for-profit companies, right, that are running these things.
Yeah, I think for general intelligence, I mean, it's the only way the AI can be trained. But the funny enough, the internet isn't even big enough for what these companies are trying to achieve. There, we said like there's only one internet and we're running out of data. There's been quotes saying that to train the AI. I think where you run into problems is when AI will spit things out verbatim, meaning they'll spit out an exact article or exact language by a specific author. And now I think it becomes a problem. If you're like replicating word for word about, you know, someone else's written or spoken or whatever word you want to decide. But I think in the terms of training general intelligence, there's no other way but to train it on what's already happened or what's already been created, it's already been written. But when you start spitting it out, the word for word, and taking away someone's likeliness and someone's entire being and someone's creativity, you know, then I think it becomes. I think there is a fine line, but I think that's where you cross the line where it gets spit out like someone else's creative work, someone else's article, someone else's novel, or and things like that. But for general intelligence, I mean, there's no other way. There's no other way that AI it can be built and has been built. And I think anyone else who thinks that, you know, that it doesn't happen that way, I think is frankly kidding themselves. And but you shouldn't be spinning out and stealing content and, you know, exact creative from artists or writers or whoever as well.
One last topic on the artists is you can do a lot of great things and say to the model, whether it is ChatGPT or if you want to generate an image, for example, to Grok or to Midjourney, you can say in the style of National Geographic or in the style of famous photographer or in the style of famous writer. And so in some way you are doing that, right?
It's true. I think also fine line. I actually just did this recently. My favorite artist is Shepard Fairey. I actually just bought a signed print of one of his works. Huge fan. And you can 100% like create works that, you know, kind of look like the vibe of a certain artist. With that said, I still, you know, just like if it's a graphic artist or a painter or a musician, you can't recreate human creativity, in my opinion. So I get it. As long as you're not spinning back like his exact works, if you're not, you know, impersonating, you know, the individual themselves or their voice or their likeliness, but, you know, it's a derivative of it, you know, I think it's again a gray area, but you can't recreate like what some artist does. In the case of Shepard, like that's very timely. It's very, you know, part of like what's happening in the world, and AI I don't think is able to replicate that, at least for now. Maybe you know, maybe the AI gods will prove me wrong on that one, but I'm still a believer in, you know, both acceleration of AI but also human creativity that cannot be replaced by the same AI.
And talking about innovation, Apple has been recently in the news because they had to pause their AI-generated news alerts after some headline notification errors happened. Do you know what happened?
Yeah, well, let me give kudos out to big tech for trying to innovate with AI. I think as consumers of all these, you know, all these products and phones and large technology companies, I think we like to see them innovate, and because we're the beneficiaries of it, of consumers of them. So, but this is a case where it did not go well. My understanding of it was Apple Intelligence was trying to summarize news, and they mixed up a few different articles, and in the process created inaccurate information. And unfortunately, my understanding as well is that it was a serious topic. It was about the killing, the murder of the United Healthcare CEO. I believe his name was Brian Thompson, by the infamous now Luigi. And there was misrepresentation about the summary of the article. So I think it highlights a few things. One, I do think there's a huge potential for AI to summarize content and, you know, to summarize, what's happening in the news. Like yesterday was the inauguration day here in the United States. Like it would probably take an entire day of reading, to get through like everything that happened yesterday. Versus if AI can provide, I still want to know what happened, but I don't have a day to go through everything that happened. I'd love AI to provide, a summary for me. And as long, but I also want it to be accurate. And I think from the companies who are implementing these tools, it requires almost like a new framework of testing. Just like in software, you write tests to make sure that the software is doing things as expected, whether it's the experience or whether it's how data is presented or how data is being used. The same thing I think is going to be required for AI as well. Given say a prompt or given a request of say summarizing a news topic, tested across a few hundred, maybe even thousand news topics, does it spit back something that we would decide is indeed accurate, is indeed an accurate representation of what the news actually was? And I think there it's just going to take time. It's just going to take a lot of time, a lot of testing. And again, the unfortunate part for big tech is because of just the sheer number of people using them, they will always be in the spotlight. And I'm sure they did a million plus, maybe 10 million different summaries of news that was absolutely perfect. But that one that they got wrong happened to be on a serious topic, and again, I feel for them. Became a concern about different news outlets as well as the people using them. So, kudos for them for trying it. I hope this is a temporary pause in their tool, because I do believe it's a great feature and one that I would appreciate. But at the same time, it is going to take some time for testing to make sure that it doesn't happen, especially on serious topics, and people are getting indeed accurate information when they're asked for it.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And very timely question that I wanted to ask you is this new administration that came in. You were speaking about it, and I think this opens up a great topic, which is how do you think this new administration will relate to AI, and what do you think it means for AI in the United States?
Yeah, that's a big question. I think it will actually accelerate it in the United States. I think that again, please don't take anything I say as political. I'm frankly as apolitical as they come, but from a perspective from AI, I think this administration has a really big push for domestic-based technology, and that creates a lot of investment in that technology stateside. So I think their number one concern is, I don't think this will be a controversial statement, is China. And right now, China is actually the leader in open source AI. So Alibaba has Qwen. There's a model, DeepSeek, which is very, very popular in the developer community as well. And they are really pushing hard for, China is for ChatGPT and other AI alternatives in an open source way. And I think that this administration will fund and support companies who are looking to do the same here stateside. Because I'm sure there is thinking about like whoever wins AI will grow their GDP, will create jobs and create prosperous companies in their respective countries that are used by hundreds of other countries in the world. There's about 200 countries, and if someone's creating like the AI, everyone else is going to want to be using that one. And right now, the closed source ones are domestic, but a lot of the open source ones, frankly, are coming from China. And I give Meta credit because they actually have one of the leading domestic open source AIs in Llama. But the rest of them, at least from the latest studies and the latest comparisons as of January 21st, 2025, because these things change every single day. A lot of them are actually being led by China. So I think this administration putting more of an emphasis on U.S.-made technology, I think in general will be a very big plus. for artificial intelligence and technology as a whole.
Hopefully will be good for AI in the United States and the development. And with that development, hopefully becomes more protection as well of how AI is used. And at the same time, it's interesting because this administration is very national and very protecting national interests. But they just, after like a single half a day ban of TikTok, they promoted it to come back, even though it is Chinese and all those things. Do you want to say something about that?
Yeah, I think it was a PR stunt. I think, to show, I don't know how many TikTok US users there are, but, to the day before the new administration came in, they said due to, the US government, we have to shut down TikTok. And then, well, I think it was about 12 hours later, they say due to, I think it said President Trump coming in, we are back. He saved TikTok. So, personal opinion, I think it was a little bit of a brilliant one at that. So let me make sure I say that too. But I think it was a little bit of a PR stunt to take it down for there's no way that in that over, and it happened overnight. They worked with the government all night to get it back up. That's hard for me to believe. I think it was a PR stunt to put that out to all the users of TikTok, and again, I don't know how many there are, and to put that language in front of tens of millions, maybe hundreds of millions of people, and let alone all the times that it was reshared around the world, and put that language around there. And frankly, I think there was definitely a PR angle involved to it, given how quickly it got resolved.
We don't have the numbers for this yet, obviously, but imagine just how many people went ahead and tried to use TikTok after it was banned, how much more growth they must have had in the company. So getting it back to the States, everyone is getting involved with AI, including Hollywood. Hollywood has been using AI somewhat in controversial ways. What do you know about AI being used in Hollywood?
One, I think it's going to create a lot more opportunity for filmmakers, large and small. I think with the streaming wars, personal opinion, I think we created a lower bar for what content and what movies and shows look like, because of the pressure to create more and more and more. I think we lost a little bit of quality and storytelling in that process. So I think that AI, if it creates an even playing field for special effects and things like that, where you don't have to spend hundreds of millions of dollars, or hopefully not even tens of millions of dollars, to recreate the effects that a Disney or a Marvel movie is going to do, we get back to storytelling. And then there, it evens the playing field, whether you're just making your own movie, or you're a college student in film school, or you're an established director. You're able to create a piece of work that's based on the story you're able to tell, not the budget that you have for special effects. And I think AI does create more of an even playing field for that, which I'm really excited to see the outcome. Right now, there's two areas where AI was used by Hollywood, and I say Hollywood very loosely. So one was a movie, one was a show, and one of the streaming platforms. The first one was an Amazon show called Fallout. I've seen a couple of episodes. It's actually pretty good. And they created a poster that was AI generated. And people called it out. They really zoomed into the poster, and they're like, what is this? There were some inconsistencies, I think with someone's hand, of course. And they pointed out some minutia in it. And I think the issue is because, as Amazon was Prime, such a large company, and the promotional image was AI generated. I think people had an issue with it. And funny enough, AI or not, when we ran it through, it was indeed AI, and we confirmed it. But I think the issue was that I think people were surprised. You know, such a like high budget and frankly speaking, a pretty high quality show. Then just kind of winged it for their promotional image.
Yes, to that point, sorry to interrupt you, Tolly. Do you believe this was planned and maybe a PR stunt from Prime to get people talking about it?
Look, it's not the worst conspiracy theory. I think we've seen it before. Like there was a Jaguar rebrand, and it was like I thought, frankly, a joke, but it got people talking. So, you can make the argument like, did it actually work? So maybe this is the case. You put out AI imagery that has some inconsistencies or something funky about it, and you see in the comments online, like I see it a lot actually. AI, is this AI or not? Is this real? Like what kind of AI is this? And it gets, like Will Ferrell said, it gets the people going. So it does create a lot of buzz. It did create some PR around it. That otherwise they might not have gotten it. And again, maybe if it's with the same vibe of the show, like if maybe it's a technology or an AI forward or technology forward type show, and I'd argue Fallout could be classified as such, then is it okay? But you're right. Maybe that's the case, and if so, more power to them. But if not, the reactions sometimes are, I would argue, skew a little bit negative.
100%. And you were talking about there was that one example from Hollywood, but there was another as well, right? From a movie?
Yeah, so there's another movie. I believe it won a Golden Globe. It's called The Brutalist, with Adrian Brody, who's a fantastic actor, and it's on my list to see, but I might have to, pencil out an entire week. I think the movie runs close to 4 hours and has an intermission, but that's a different story. And it was used in two ways. One, to recreate the accents, AI was used. I believe it was, I forgot the language that they were using. Give me 1 second. The dialogue, a lot of it was in Hungarian. I haven't finished the movie yet. I haven't watched it yet, so I haven't seen it myself. It's still in theaters. But a lot of the language is in Hungarian, and I believe they used AI to improve some of the pronunciations of the words to make it, ironically, sound more authentic. So AI was actually used in a lot of the language, and I understand why you do it. You don't have Hungarian native speakers as actors, but you're trying to recreate that, and to recreate accents and correct pronunciations. They used AI for it. Like my first language is Russian, so every time I hear a famous actor attempt Russian, sometimes it's like comical. I can't even understand what they're saying, frankly, because the accents are so bad. So I understand why a director would do it, but they did use AI for some of the language. Then the second portion that they used was some of the imagery, and I don't mean like imagery that you see. It's like some of the printouts that were actually in the movie. So my understanding is the main character is some kind of architect, and instead of having to create like blueprints and like architecture diagrams, they actually used AI for that. So when he has it out on a table or out on a poster, a lot of those images were generated with AI. And then going back to your previous point, Johnny, and I believe it's about a real person or a real style of architecture in this movie. You can ask AI, like, generate blueprints or generate architectural diagrams in the style of X. So I would, it's probably exactly what they did, instead of having to sit there, which I can't imagine how much time or effort or money it takes to create a bunch of architectural diagrams of buildings. But AI did it, and they were able to kind of use that as props and as content, like printed out within the movie. Frankly, the second part I think is awesome. Why it's part of the story, but it's not like a huge part of the story where you're trying to keep authenticity. But I think it's awesome. A really, really, really cool use. But you know, the eye to the eye of the beholder. Maybe I'm in the minority on that one.
And I think the amazing thing that AI is doing is that is democratizing, like you said. So smaller budgets can make it happen with AI. Even bigger movies can achieve stuff that would take 3 days to do, just takes half an hour. And all that is amazing for people. But the question is, all that creativity comes at a cost somehow. People just don't notice it. What do you think are the consequences?
Yeah, I think we're in a period of time where we're all getting used to this new world where AI is being used in everything around us, whether it's, you know, just in this conversation, whether it's in the movies we watch, the show advertisement we see, the content we see on social media, written and visual. And I think there's an adjustment period, but it's not going away. In fact, I'm sure a lot of directors are like, wow, I can create, you know, dialogue in a different language without having to get a native speaking actor or actress from that language, or someone who knows I can get, you know, the artist that I want playing it, while, you know, still trying to get the dialect just right and authentic with the use of AI. And as far as imagery and special effects, 100%. And I actually think overall there will be positives where we get back to storytelling, right? If it's not just how big is the explosion or how cool is the CGI, which is all pretty costly. It's about the storytelling, and you know, and we kind of democratize everything else around it. But we are in an adjustment period where people maybe sometimes feel, you know, like they were fooled or something's inauthentic when, but it's not going to go away. It's the pace of how good it is just going to increase. The usage of it is just gonna increase, but you know, minus a couple of hiccups here and there, I think overall it's gonna have a really positive effect in a lot of areas, including in creative fields such as movie making.
And I think just like every technology and every advancement we'll have a demographic accentuation towards where the end of the demographic, older people will have a harder time accepting it, and the younger people will have a much easier time accepting these changes. And it makes me feel like one of the old people. It's like, these damn kids with their phones, and this kind, it's gonna happen the same to us as we get older. These damn kids with the AI and the Metaverse and the everything that's happening. So that's gonna happen for sure, and it's kind of fun in a way to see that evolution happen. And one piece of tech that I've seen that's really cool, I'm not sure if you've seen the demos of it, is the translation into different languages. So when movies are going on the theater and they're being shown, for example, for a Spanish audience, but the movie is originally in French or in English, they will adapt the mouth movements to sound and look much more original and make the movie that much more seamless, so that people can be immersed in the experience. Have you seen that?
I haven't seen it, but that sounds amazing. Like, it always bothers me if like the dubbing is off and someone's mouth is moving like at a pace while the words are coming out at a completely different pace. It's very distracting. So I think it's a really great use of these tools. And I hear you on you know, feeling old, but at the same time, like when I watch content now, or I watch a movie on a streaming platform, like I don't want to see like the same explosion with the same actor every 6 months. Like, I want a great story. I want, you know, a movie. I'll take a movie filmed in 2 locations that tells a really great story. Like, example of that is that Korean movie a few years ago, Parasite. Yeah, incredible movie, but you can tell like the budget was not big for it. But man, what a story! Probably shot in 3 locations, maybe 4, and you remove all those other things from, you know, the special effects and all of that, and you're just left with a great story. And it won the, you know, movie of the year, won an Oscar for film of the year. And I hope to see more artists, directors, and writers be appreciated for that, as opposed to like who can make the bit. You know, I'm not gonna call out any of the typical action directors that get hired by big, yeah. You said it. But less of that and more of the storytelling. So we're not just getting, regurgitate the same movie every 6 months, or every 3 months now with the streaming wars just to keep up and get people, the same like 5.5 or 6.0 IMDb rating of the same actor, a regurgitated plot that sounds sometimes like ChatGPT did indeed write, versus a great storyteller who is able to, have a judicious use of these AI tools only to enhance the actual story and the actual art they're looking to create. And that's what I'm looking forward to. But again, I think we're in an adjustment period for both the artists, the directors themselves, but as well as the viewers and the consumers of it as well.
Hopefully we get to see more parasites. And getting back to the States, we've seen an executive order, I believe, on strengthening innovation in cybersecurity, like nationally. What happened there?
So the previous administration in the United States put out an executive order for, like exactly you said, strengthening and promoting national cybersecurity. And a big part of it was actually the use of AI. If I read between the lines, it's almost like fighting fire with fire. Like as you see more AI being used by the bad guys, whether it's for phishing attacks or impersonation attacks, and identity security is mentioned as well, and all of these are at risk from the use of AI. The government put out standard to encourage the building and the use of AI to fight it. So essentially, fight cybersecurity crime generated by AI with AI to detect it. And it's something I know quite well. It's how we're building AI or not. I mean, we're building AI to detect AI, especially for like images, video, and audio. And I think the government is taking a really similar approach as they're seeing more threats, across all of the states, across all of their different groups and organizations, and they're encouraging and promoting security with and in artificial intelligence. And I think it's a really great step. And the way that I would summarize it is definitely fight AI with AI, fight fire with fire. So if the bad guys are using it, use the same tools and hopefully improve them to protect against the people around the world, to not fall as a victim of some of these crimes.
Just like someone once said, with great power comes great responsibility. So hopefully we're going to be able to use this amazing, powerful tool that is AI to build a more constructive, fair, and loving world. And AI or not is at the forefront of that. So I'm excited for what the future is to bring.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you, Johnny.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for joining us for this week's episode. Talk to you soon.